Hello, this is the AQA Functional Skills Level 2 past paper. It is from the 25th of February 2020. We have 1.5 hours to do it and we are allowed a calculator. So let's start. Here we have section A. These are the short questions, and as you can see it is a multiple choice question. Down here we have the selection, it's a 1-mark question, and we have a grid and asking us to find which of these points A, B, C and D corresponds to a -2 and a 3. So -2 is in the horizontal direction, so we're going to go -2, and a 3 is in the vertical direction, so we're going to go 1, 2 and 3 up. So in this case the answer is A. So we circle it. Okay. Let's move on to question number 2. Question number 2 shows a triangle. They tell us it's an isosceles, and an isosceles, in other words, tells us that the sides AB and AC are equal. They also show this by these lines telling us that these two sides are equal. Now if you remember that an isosceles has 2 equal sides, it also means it has 2 equal angles, which tells me that this angle here will be the same as that angle there. The other fact we need to remember is that inside a triangle all the angles add up to 180. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically work out 180, take away that 36. 180, take away the 36. It's a calculator paper, so let's not waste time. Take your calculator, and we will have here 180, take away 36, which gives us 144. Now remember that 144 is split between these two angles, so we're going to split it between the two angles. So 144 split equally between the two angles. So we still have the 144 there, so let's divide it by 2, and we get 72, which tells me that each of these angles here are 72. But that's not what they wanted us to find out. They wanted us to find out what was the angle X, and in this case we need to remember that on a straight line the angles add up to 180. So if this is 72, we're going to say 180, take away 72. Once again, you could do that in your head, but why do that when you have a calculator? 180, take away 72, tells us the answer is 108. You can just about see it there on the calculator. So we have 108. Okay? In other words, that there is 108. But that's not what we will write it. We will write it in the answer bit. So down here we have our answer bit, and we're going to write 108. Nice and clearly. Worth 3 marks, so do show some of your workings. That was question 2. Let's look at question 3. Question 3 is a cuboid. They tell us it's cuboid. It also looks like a cuboid. It's a 3D diagram, and they're asking us to draw the elevation. Elevation is a direction, okay, and in this case it's the one shown by the arrow. Okay? So in this case we're going to draw that side there. You just need to think about what dimensions you actually have. I'm just moving the paper so I can see, and we know that this one here is 5 centimeters long. And we can see that the height here is 2. So when I come to draw that, I'm going to draw something that is 2 centimeters tall. Okay, and I'm just going to use the boxes, and 5 centimeters along. 3 and 5. Okay, and just make sure you do complete it. Shouldn't take too long to do. It's only a 1-mark question. Okay. Let's just check. It says draw it, it doesn't say label it, so we're okay. There we are, that's your 1-mark question. A nice little rectangle corresponding to that side there. Let's continue, and if we look at part B of this question, it says work out the total surface area of the cuboid. So we're going to be focusing on the area, and that's the surface of the area. That means the outside of the cuboid. We want to find all of it together. So this is where we have to go back to our initial picture and think what we know. If we look at the top of this cuboid has a length here of 5, and it has a length here of 4. So the top, if I'm working out the area of that top one, it would be 5 times 4. So in this part here, I'm going to say the area of the top one is 5 times 4. Okay? You can put it in your calculator, but also 5 times 4, we know is 20. Okay? So that is in centimeters, so centimeters squared. And that is for the top. But remember, when you're talking about cuboids, the top and the bottom of the cuboid are the same, so it means we have 2 things, top and bottom. So if I have a top there, I'll also have a 20 for the bottom. let's go back to our drawing. So we've done the top, let's do the side. This side over here is 5 along, 2 up, just like we had in our picture down there. So 5 times 2. So we're working out that one, that'll be 5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10 centimeters squared for the area, and that is basically the left-hand side, so one of the sides. Okay. But like before, if there's a side here, there'll be a side just behind there where you can't see, but one over there. Okay, so we'll have another one of those. So we have another 10. Okay. So we've done the top, we've done this side, now let's do that side over there. And that side is 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is nice and easy, that's 8. And like before, if that is from the side, we'll also have one, sorry, I should basically put these in here, shouldn't I? So there we are. We'll also have another one for the other direction. Okay. Now they're asking us to work out the total. Total means all of it together, so we're just going to add all these together. You could put it in your calculator if you want to, or you could say 20 plus 20 is 40, plus 10, 50, plus 10, 60, plus 8, 68, plus another 8 is going to be 76. Okay. And notice we already have centimeters squared here, so we don't need to put it in the units. If you're unsure, just use your calculator. 20 plus 20 plus 10 plus 10 plus 8 plus 8, add it together, 76. Excellent. Let's keep going. Question 4. Question 4 is a probability question, and they have given us a tree and they're telling us the event A, you can choose red or blue, and here are the probabilities. They've put it as a decimal. And event 2, again, you can choose a red or blue, and there is a probability linked with each of those. Okay. What does the question say? The question says, work out the probability that you get a red in event 1. So that means that when we look at event 1, we want to get red, and red is along there. Okay, and it says you also want to get a red and a red in event 2. So here's event 2, so we've gone along there, so we continue going. The only way we could do that is to go up there. Okay, so you notice that to get, to get a red and a red is to follow this line along here. To work out probabilities along a branch, you multiply them together. So here we have a 0.7 times, because it's along a branch, 0.7. If unsure, just check it on your calculator, 0.7 times 0.7, and it gives us an answer of 0.49. 0.49. That's our answer, but I'll just write it down in the answer box. 0.49. 2-mark question. Let's have a look at question 5. We're still on section A, which are meant to be those short questions. And here we have a cylinder. They tell us that the cylinder has a radius of 3.2, but they've also shown it in the picture. And it's also told us the height, and the height of the cylinder is 7.5 centimeters. And it's asking us to work out the volume of the cylinder. Now, to work out the volume of the cylinder, what we need to do is we need to have pi multiplied by the radius squared multiplied by the height of the cylinder. You have several options. You can use pi as 3.14, or you could use pi as the button on your calculator. Go shift, find the pi button, and let's clear it, shift, pi button, enter. And you'll notice it's not very clear. You might just about see it. If I move it there, you can see a pi appears, and if you press equals and then change to SD, it will actually give you the full number. Okay, so you have an option of using full number, or you can use 3.14. Up to you. I'm going to use 3.14 just to keep it nice and simple. So here, when I come to calculate it, I'm going to use 3.14 multiplied by the radius squared is 3.2 squared times the height, which is 7.5. Once again, if you have a scientific calculator, it's brilliant because we can just type it in one go. 3.14 times 3.2, there's my squared button, times by 7.5. Press equals, it gives us a fraction, but as you know, if you press your SD button, it will change it to a decimal, and here we have our answer is 241.152. Just copy down your full answer. If you've used the pi button, you'll have more numbers to write down. Okay? And just for completeness, I'm going to write it down there also. Okay? We already have the units for volume, so I'm not going to write that in, but sometimes you need to write that in. Excellent. So we've done section A. Now let's have a look at section B. Now section B are those longer questions. And as you can see, indeed, this is a much longer question. It takes a whole page, and down here we have 4 marks. So looking at this question, what it's about is a cycle race. They're asking us, or they're telling us that Paul and Fran are entering a cycle race. It is 60 kilometers long. They're looking at some reviews. They're looking at 2 races, A and B, for last year. And they're looking at the stars, the number of stars, to see how good the race is. Here is information for race A, and they tell us that the mean was 4.1 stars, median 4 stars, range 3 stars. Below we have a table, and that table shows us the scores for race B. And they're just telling us what the scores were and how many. Remember, frequency means how many. In other words, there were no stars, no 1 stars, there was 1, 2 stars, etc. They enter the race with the highest average, so we're going to have to find our highest average. We already know the average is there, but we need to work out the averages here. Why? Because we want to find a higher one. And then once we know that, we can decide which one they're going to enter. And it says we must show our workings. Now, the first thing to remember is that range is not an average. So I'm just going to cross that off, because that's there just to confuse us. The 3 averages are mean, median, and mode. They haven't given us the mode, so I'm not going to bother calculating it. But they have given me the mean and the median, so we're going to work out the mean and the median for this table for race B. Okay. Now, there are different ways of doing it. First of all, I'm going to do the mean. So let's write the mean. Okay. Now, you could write it all out, and we could do that in a little while, but the fastest way to work out the mean is to basically multiply these through. So I have 1 lots of nothing, nothing, 2 lots of 1, 2, 3 lots of 1, 3, 4 lots of 4, 16, 5 lots of 6, 30, and then add them all together. Take a calculator. We have 2 plus 3 plus 16 plus 30, and that gives me a total of 51. So the total score here is 51. And if you remember, the mean is the total divided by how many? Or in other words, by the total frequency. Okay. In this case, the total we worked out was 51. How many do we have? Well, let's work out how many. What's our total frequency? 6 plus 4 is 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 things here. So we're going to divide by 12. So 51 divided by 12 is the same as 4.25. So the mean here is 4.25. Okay. But we need to also work out the median, because if you remember, we had the mean and median, so I need to work out the median of these ones. And again, there's a method, and the method is to know how many we have. We have 12 things. So I'm going to say 12 plus 1, and then divide it by 2, and this will tell me where to look. So if we have 12 plus 1 on the calculator, and then divide by 2, it tells me I'm looking for position 6.5. So I can go counting. If I go counting, I go 1, 2, 2 plus 4 is going to be 6. 6.5 is going to be here. So it's going to be in the middle of these 2 numbers. So it's going to come out, the median is going to come out at 4.5. Okay. Now, if you don't like working it out like that, you can do the long version. And the long version is to write out what we had. So this tells me I have no 1. It tells me I have 1, 2. It tells me I have 1, 3. It tells me I have 4 lots of 4s. Okay, that's what the table's doing, but it just takes longer to do. Okay? And it tells me I have 6 lots of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So if you wanted to work out the mean, you could add those together and divide by 12, and you'll get the same answer as we did before, 4.25. You can also find the median by looking for the middle, and as you go crossing them off, you basically will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And notice we're in the middle of those 2 numbers. The middle of 4 and 5 is 4.5, like we've written. Okay, so there's different methods of doing this, but at the end of the day, that's our answer for the mean, that's our answer for the median. Remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out which race to enter, and we're looking for the one with the highest score. If we compare mean of 4.1 with a mean of 4.25, race B is looking better. And if we look at the median here is 4 stars, and here the median is 4.5. So basically they need to enter into race B because race B is a higher one. Okay, and there's your 4 marks. Beautiful. Let's continue. So we're now on to question 6b. And question 6b looks like a percentage question, but when we see it and when we read it more carefully, there's more to this. It's one of those reverse percentage questions because it tells us Fran wants to buy a new bike. She sees this offer and it says it costs £708, but it includes VAT of 20%. The special offer is that they will pay the VAT. In other words, Fran does not need to pay the VAT, so she will be paying it without the VAT. She has £600 to spend, and the question is, can she afford it? And we need to show our workings. So what we need to realise is that the price of £708, okay, is the price for the full price of the bicycle plus another 20%. So this is the same as 120%. Okay, that number is the same as 120. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find the price without the VAT. So without the VAT means without the 20%. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to look for the price which is 100%. And that's what we're trying to look for. What is the price of 100%? And that will be our answer. Now there are many ways of doing this. The one I'm going to do is the one where I'm going to look for what is 1% worth, and then I can work out what 100% is worth. And to do that, what we need to identify is that to go from 120 to 1, I need to divide by 120, because if you divide by the same number, you get 1. And once you know what 1 is, to change that to 100, you can just times it by 100, because 1 times 100 gives you 100. Why do I do that? Because that's the instructions of what I'm going to do here. Now remember, in an exam, you shouldn't use a red pen. I'm just using it. You should always use a black pen, but I'm using a red pen to highlight what I'm doing for the instructions for you. Okay. So in this case, these are my instructions. I'm going to start with 708. I'm going to divide by 120, and I'm going to multiply it by 100, and it's going to give me an answer. Let's put it in the calculator. So we have 708 divided by 120, and then times it by 100. I can do it all in one go, and it gives me a price of 590. So here the price was 590. Okay. So the question was, can she afford it? Yes, she can, because she has £600 and it's less than £600. So the answer is yes, she can afford it. 3 marks. Okay. Let's continue. Question 6c. Question 6c is a 4-mark question. And this 4-mark question is talking about time. And it says that Paul and Fran start the race. Fran cycles 60 kilometers at an average speed of 15 miles per hour. Fran completes the race and then waits for Paul. Paul finishes the race in 167 minutes. And the question is, does Fran wait more than 10 minutes? They also tell us that 1 mile is the same as 1.6 kilometers, and they want to see some workings, 4 marks. There are several ways of doing this, but what you'll notice is we have talking here about kilometers, here we're talking about miles, and so we can't really compare like with like. We're going to have to change it. Another hint here is they're telling us that 1 mile equals 1.6 kilometers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out what's happening here for Fran, and then I'm going to compare it with Paul and see how much do they need to wait 10 minutes or not. Okay. So what do we know? We know here we have a distance. Okay, so we have a distance, and here we have a speed. And what am I trying to look for? I'm looking for time. So if you remember, when you're trying to work out, you have that speed equals distance divided by time. But we're trying to find time, which means that to calculate time, if I want to work out the time, I'm going to have to do distance divided by speed. I'm going to have distance divided by speed. Okay. Now, before I jump in here though, I need to remember that my distance is in kilometers and my speed is in miles. So really I need to make them the same. And it's up to you which you change. You could change the speed or you could change the distance. It's up to you. The one I'm going to choose is I'm going to change my speed. Why? because here it's very nicely tells me that 1 mile equals this. So if I want to change 15 miles, it's quite straightforward, because I can say that 1 mile is the same as 1.6 kilometers. So if I want to find out what 15 miles is, all I need to do is do 1.6 times 15. I can put that in my calculator. Okay, that will tell me how many kilometers. So 1.6 times 15 tells me that it's 24. So here I have 24 kilometers. Okay. Now remember, really what we've done is we've changed the 15 to 24 kilometers, but we still have here per hour. So when I come to do that, the distance is 60 kilometers divided by the speed, which is now 24. Put that into your calculator. 60 divided by 24 comes out as a fraction. Let's change it to a decimal. 2.5. So this is the same as 2.5 hours. How do I know it's hours? Because the speed was in hours. So let's think what that means. 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, basically means that we have 60 minutes for 1 hour, another 60 minutes for the other hour, and then half an hour is 30. So if I add this all together, 60 plus 60 is 120, plus another 30 would be 150. So this is 150 minutes. That is how long Fran is going to take to cycle. And the question is, how long will Paul, okay, will Fran have to wait for Paul? So if she finishes at 150 minutes, okay, that means that comparing it to that one, or you can take it away if you want to, but you can see that it's another 17 minutes. So does he have to wait? Does she have to wait more than 10 minutes? The answer is yes. Okay, she has to wait 17 minutes. Okay, good. That's a 4-mark question. Let's continue. Let's have a look. Question 7. Question 7 is a completely new thing. We're no longer talking about a cycle race. We're talking about going to a supermarket. Lucas is going to a supermarket. He has a budget of £50 per week. That means in 1 week he has £50 to pay for food. He's already spent £12.50 on a takeaway. What fraction of his budget does he have left? Here's the key word, left. So we need to find out how much he has left. So first of all, let's do that. So he had £50. He spent £12.50 already. So we're going to find out how much he has left. So 50, take away £12.50, leaves me with £37.50. £37.50. That's how much money he has left. Okay. And they want it as a fraction. So a fraction is how much he has left divided by how much he had in total. That's a fraction, okay? But remember, a fraction doesn't like decimals. But this is where having a calculator is wonderful, because I can just put it in. 37.5, and on the bottom 50, press equals, and it will change it to a fraction that actually has no decimals format. So it comes out as 3/4. So let's just put in the answer bit down here. What fraction do he have left? He has left 3/4 of his money. 2 marks. Question 7b is going to be a bit more tricky. How do I know that? 4 marks. Lucas buys a packet of biscuits. Here's our packet of biscuits. And it tells us the weight. And it also tells us the number of biscuits. There's also a label. So when he reads the label on this packet of biscuits, it says how much sugar. And every 100 grams of biscuits has 26.4 grams of sugar. They also tell us that the maximum recommended daily amount of sugar is 30 grams. Lucas eats 2 biscuits. Work out the percentage of the maximum recommended daily amount of the sugar in these 2 biscuits. Before I can do the percentage, I'm going to have to work out how much sugar there actually is in those 2 biscuits. Okay? So let's do all the steps for this. So let's have a look. First things first, how much does the 2 biscuits weigh? Well, we're going to find out how much 1 biscuit weighs. So if 450 grams is all the biscuits together, and we now divide it by 36, that will tell us how much 1 biscuit weighs. So 450 divided by 36 tells me that 1 biscuit weighs 12.5 grams. That's for 1 biscuit. But he eats 2 biscuits, so 2 biscuits will be double that. times 2 for 2 biscuits times by 2 gives me 25. So 2 biscuits weigh 25 grams. Okay, that is for 2 biscuits. Now, they tell me that every 100 grams of biscuit has 26.4 grams of sugar. And I have 25 grams of biscuit. So what fraction of biscuit do I have? I have 25 grams of biscuit out of 100. Okay? And if I put that into my calculator, you'll end up with 25 over 100. And you'll notice that you end up with a quarter. So you actually have a quarter, or if you want to, 0.25, depends on what you prefer working with. But this is the same as a quarter of the amount. Okay? So in other words, I have a quarter of this. So I have a quarter of the amount of sugar. So I have a quarter times 26.4, which gives me an answer of 6.6. So there is 6.6 grams of sugar in those 2 biscuits. So we've now found out how much sugar we have. The question says, work out the percentage of the sugar in the 2 biscuits. So if I want to work out the percentage, I need to have the fraction. So I have 6.6 grams of sugar out of the recommended daily amount, which is 30. And then I multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So we have 6.6 over 30 times by 100. We get an answer of 22. So the answer for this one is 22%. Okay. Very good. That's a tricky question. Seven C. 7C is Lucas, and this time he's continuing, but he's working with his petrol. Here is his petrol gauge in his car. Over here is empty, and when it's empty we know it will have nothing in it. And when it's full, they tell us that basically he wants to fill up his car, and they tell us here that his tank holds 70 litres. So when it's full, we know it will hold 70 litres. Okay? But we can tell it's not full. At the moment, it's only a little bit full. There's only 24% of a tank. They tell us the cost of petrol. Every litre costs 126.8 pence, and they want to find out how much it will cost to fill up the tank until it's all full. So we need to find out how much he needs to buy. How much petrol does he need? Now, once again, like always, there's several ways of doing this. There's a longer way and a shorter way. The longer way is to work out 24% of the whole tank, and the whole tank was 70, and that will tell me how much petrol he already has. So 24 over 100 multiplied by 70 tells us that at the moment he has 16.8 litres in his car. So how much does he need to buy? Well, if he wants to fill it up, we need to find out what the difference is. So we're going to say 70, take away 16.8 to find out how much he needs to buy. So 70 minus 16.8 tells me he needs to buy 53.2 litres. Okay. Every litre costs that much. So I'm going to have 53.2 litres multiplied by 126.8. Okay. Now remember, because that's in pence, the answer is going to come out in pence. So I'm just going to put the P there to help me remember. So we're going to say 53.2 times 126.8. When we do that, we end up with an answer. Okay, it looks a bit funny, that's fine. Just press the SD and it tells us 6,745.76. So we have 6,745.76. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but remember it's in pence. If you're going to fill up your tank, that can't actually be pounds. Okay, so that's in pence. How do you change it to pounds? Now, why am I wanting to change it to pounds? Because if you notice down here, the answer is in pounds. So changing to pounds means that we need to divide by 100. Pence divided by 100 gives me pounds. So we have the answer there. So we had 6,745.76 divided by 100, which gives us an answer of 67.4576. Okay. Remember, divide by 10, divide by 100. So we have 67.4576. So when we write our answer, we can now write it down there. 67.4576. Okay, and just write it all down. They haven't asked us to round it or anything. Now there is a faster way of doing this. And the faster way of doing that is to say, well, I'm not going to calculate 24 because what I want to do is I want to find out how much he needs to buy. So 100% minus 24, okay, 100% minus 24 means that he has to buy 76%. So now you could do 76% multiplied by 70. When you do that, 76 over 100, multiplied by 70. Oops, forgot my multiplication sign. Let's put that in there. And you notice we get the same answer, 53.2, which is what we had here. Okay, so it's just a different way of doing it. Same answer. And then the next step would still be the same. Good. We're on to question 8. Looking at question 8, it looks like it's to do with one of these shapes. It's made up of several things. Let's look at it. It says that Meg owns a company. They put driveways, so this is a driveway. Here's a sketch. A sketch just means a kind of drawing, a rough drawing of the driveway. It's made up of a rectangle and a triangle. And if you look carefully, you can definitely see there's a rectangle and a triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to split it now into the rectangle and the triangle so that I can see it later on. So there's my rectangle and there's my triangle. Meg charges £120 for every square metre of driveway. Now, square metre means we're going to be working with area. Okay? Work out the total amount she charges for the driveway. Now, remember, she's covering that. It's going to be area. So we need to work out the area of the rectangle and we need to work out the area of the triangle first. And then afterwards, we can work out how much it's going to cost. So you need to have a little bit of a think carefully. Okay? We know that the area of a rectangle is the base times the height. And if I look at this, here I have my height and here I have the base. Okay, so the base of this one is 3.5. So that's going to be 10.2 times 3.5 or 3.5 times 10.2. The multiplication doesn't matter the order. So 10.2 times 3.5. We get an answer for that, which is 35.7. Okay, meters squared. Area. So we've done that one. Okay, we've done that one. We now need to do the area of a triangle. And area of a triangle is base times the height and then divide by 2. But they haven't given us the base and the height very clearly. We're going to have to work it out. So I need to work out what is the height of that bit. And to do that, we're going to use the 10.2 and take away the 4.8. To work out that height there, I'm going to basically say 10.2 take away 4.8 because all of that is 10.2 and I'm going to take away that 4.8 to find this bit here. So 10.2 minus 4.8 tells me that we have 5.4. So this bit here is 5.4. Okay. Once again, use black pen in an exam, but for this it's just to highlight what we're doing. So at the moment, I know the height of mine is going to be 5.4. Okay. I now need to work out the base. And to work out the base, like before, they tell me that from here all the way to there is 6.5. I know that this bit here is 3.5. So to work out that one, I'm going to say 6.5 minus 3.5. 6.5 minus 3.5 gives me 3. So this bit here is 3. So my base on my triangle is 3. And then we divide by 2 to work it out. Okay. So we have 5.4 times 3, then divide by 2, and we end up with an answer of 8.1. Okay. So now we worked out the area of that triangle, and the total area is when you add them both together. So we're going to add them together. When you add them together, you get 35.7 plus 8.1, and we end up here with 43.8. Beautiful. 43.8 meters squared. And we needed that because every square meter costs £120, and we want to find out how much it costs in total. So we're going to now say we have a total area of 43.8 multiplied by 120 43.8 times 100. Oh, made a mistake, sorry. Let's delete it and put 120. There we are. And we get a nice big chunk of money. We know it's going to be expensive, these things are. So the price for that is going to be 5,256. Like always, write your final answer down here. So 5,256. Good. Now we're on to 8B. We're flying through these. Well done. Okay, let's see. So Meg promises the customer that she will do the driveway. It will be constructed in 7 days. She has 3 workers, and normally it takes these 3 workers 11 days to construct a driveway, which obviously isn't going to be enough. So she'll need to get some extra workers. Work out the minimum number of extra workers that Meg needs so that she can finish it in 7 days. We're going to assume that they all work at the same rate. Okay? We need to show some workings. So the first thing we need to work out is what normally happens. What normally happens if we normally have 3 workers and it takes them 11 days to do the job. Okay? So 3 workers, 11 days to do it, will mean that it normally takes, it would take one person 33 days to do the job if it's one person. Because if it's one person will have to do the job of each of these people, which means they'll have to work 11 days, then another 11 days, and then another 11 days. So it will take 33 days, sorry, that's a plural, so I should put S, for one person to do the job. But that's not what we wanted. We didn't want to take it 33 days. We wanted to make it 7 days. So I'm going to say 33 days, split it into 7 days to see how many workers we need. And when we do 33 divided by 7, we ended up with, quite a long answer in the calculator. So I'm just going to write some of it down. So it's something like 4.71, and there's even more there, okay? But remember, we're talking about workers, okay? This is how many workers we need. And you can't have part of a worker. So really, even though there's more numbers in there, and it continues, that's enough to tell me that really we're going to need 5 workers to complete the job in 7 days. But she didn't ask how many workers, she asked how many extra workers. So she already has 3 workers, so 5, take away the 3 that she already has, means that she needs 2 extra workers. So down here we can say 2 extra workers. Okay. 4 marks, actually not that many calculation, it's more understanding the question to get those 4 marks. Let's have a look at question 8C. And 8C looks like it's a ratio question. How do I know? Because I can see it there before I'm even starting. And it says she wants to paint the driveway with a waterproof coating. They tell us that this driveway has an area of 35.75 meters squared. They tell us that the coating is made by mixing sealant and water. Now sealant is the first one and water is the second one because it's the same order as it's written. 2 litres of this coating covers 1 meter squared of the driveway. The sealant is sold in bottles of 1.5 litres, and they're asking us how many bottles we need. So we're going to have to work out how much coating we need to cover the whole driveway. We're then going to have to work out, if we know how much coating, how much of that is sealant, and then afterwards we're going to work out how many bottles. So let's find out how much of this coating we need. So they tell us that 2 litres are needed for every meter squared, and so we have 35.75 meters squared. And so every meter squared needs 2, so we're going to multiply that by 2. So we have 35.75 times 2, which gives us 71.5. So we need 71.5 litres of coating. But the coating is split between sealant and water. So I'm going to split this into the sealant and water. So how many parts are there? So here it tells me I have 8 plus 3 is going to tell me there's 11 parts to this mixture. So I'm going to take our coating that we have and I'm going to split it into the 11 parts that we have to find out how much each part is worth. So we have 71.5 divided by 11. Which tells me that each part is worth 6.5, okay? 6.5 litres for each part. Okay. Now I'm not interested in water, I'm only interested in sealant because this whole question is about sealant. So it tells me I need 3 lots of these, or 3 parts of this. So I need 3 lots of the 6.5 litres. So 6.5 times 3 gives me an answer of 19.5. So we need 19.5 litres of sealant. That's how much we need in total. Now the question didn't ask us how much sealant, it asked us how many bottles. So we're going to have to find out how many of these fit into there. So that's a division. 19.5 divided by 1.5 to find out how many bottles. So we're going to have 19.5 divided by 1.5, and it tells me we need 13 bottles. Okay. And that's our final answer, so let's write it down. We need 13 bottles. 5 marks for that question. So it's a ratio question, but it's a little bit more complicated because there's a few more steps in it. Where are we? Ooh, we're now on to question 9, and question 9 is the last one. So there's several parts to question 9, but that's the last question. And you can see it's a scatter graph. They're telling us that we're looking at an apartment. Pete wants to rent an apartment in Norwich city centre. Here are 10 apartments on the scatter graph. They're telling us here we have the rent, and here we have the distance from the city centre in kilometres. If we continue going further down, they also tell us here are some extra points. So there's 2 extra points. And Pete rents an apartment that's £280 per week. So they're asking us to use the scatter graph, but we need to add the extra points onto it. And then we're going to have to estimate the distance of his flat from the city centre. We need to show our workings. So first things first, let's plot. Okay. So here we have our scatter graph, and we're looking for a distance of 2 kilometres. So here is a distance of 2 kilometres, and we want to go up to 250. Now if you notice, going up in 100, 200, 300, so 250 is going to be bang in the middle of 200 and 300. So this is where having a ruler is a good idea, just to guide the eye. So if we're going along there, along 250, we're looking for, remember we're looking to go up here at 2, so we're looking to go up at 2, and we're going to basically plot it at 2. So it's going to be bearish. So there is my other cross. Okay. So we've done that one. The next one is 3.2 and 180. Now 3.2, let's just check. 3.2, like here, let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, so it's jumping up to 2. So 3.2 is there. And we need to look for 180. So this one we have to be careful. What is it jumping up in? If you're going up in tens, it's enough. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. No, so it's going to be double. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So it's going up in 20s. So to get to 180, we're going to go 100, 120, 140, 160, 180. So there we are. Okay. So it's going to be going up here until we get to 180. And 180 is going to be there. Okay. So we've plotted our 2 points. That's 2 marks. Now they're asking us to use the scatter graph. And whenever you use a scatter graph, you actually have to plot a line of best fit. And that's where you're going to have to put a line where you basically have roughly the same number of crosses above and below your line. Okay, it's not very easy to do. You just have to kind of play around with it. At the moment, it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 below, and I only have about, so I'm going to move it a little bit more this way to get a bit more. Okay, that might be a little bit. So let's roughly say something like that. Okay, there's a little bit of leeway on it, but I'm just going to draw my line of best fit. Okay, yours might be slightly different. Yours might be a little bit more this way, a bit more that way, but you want to have roughly the same number of crosses above as below. Once you've drawn your line of best fit, we're going to use it to answer the question. The question was, he pays 250. How much, how far is it? So we're going to look for 250. Here's 250. So we actually have to mark it on here. So let's put in our lines to show 250 where it would be. So I go along until I touch the line I drew. So yours might be in a slightly different place, and mine touched there, and so then I'm going to come down, and so mine is here. Okay. So in my case, my answer is going to be something like 2.95 kilometers, but yours might be slightly different depending on your line. So in my case, I'm going to write 2.95 kilometers. You might get 2.9, you might get 3, depending on your line. Good. 4 marks for that question. Those are very common in exams. Last three questions. Pete has a scale diagram of a living room in his apartment. Pete wants to cover it with wallpaper. The width of the wall in the scale diagram is 15.9 centimeters. Here is a scale. The wallpaper comes in rolls of 0.5 meters and a length of 10.05 meters. Each roll costs £13.85. His room has a height of 2.65 and he will cut it into 2.65 meters, the paper. We want to work out the total cost of doing this wall. So there's a couple of things. What I'm first going to do is I'm going to work out the scale. Okay? And if you remember on the scale, the first number is what's happening on the drawing, and the second number is what happens in real life. So in this case, when I'm doing it, I will have what's happening in the drawing and what's happening for real. And in the drawing we have 160, and here they tell me in the drawing it's 15.9. So I want to find out what's happening in the real case. So what do we notice is this side of the ratio has increased by 15.9 because 1 times 15.9 gives me 15.9. So it's the same over here. So we're going to do 60 times 15.9. Again, don't use a red pen in the exams. This is just to show you what's happening. So we're going to do 60 times 15.9, which gives us 954. Okay? But this was in centimeters, so this one again is in centimeters. But you notice the rest of the question is all in meters. So I'm going to change 954 centimeters, which is the width of the wall, and I'm going to change it into meters by dividing by 100. 100 centimeters make a meter. So if I divide by 100, divide by 10, divide by 100, I'll end up with 9.54 meters width for the wall. So if you want a little drawing of the wall, just to give you an idea, here we have a drawing of the wall. I'm just going to quickly make one. And they're telling us, okay, that this bit here, it's quite a long wall, is 9 meters and 9.54 meters. And they also tell us that the height of the room here, okay, is 2.65 meters. So that's the room. And we want to find out how many rolls we need. Okay? So every roll is 10.05 meters long. So I want to find out how many of these fit into there. So I'm going to basically say 10.05 divided by 2.65 to find out how many strips, because remember what we're going to do is you're going to have one strip of wallpaper and a strip of wallpaper. I want to find out how many of those you can get in one roll. So 10.05 divided by 2.65 tells me that you get about 3.79. Now there's lots of other stuff there. It's not very clear, so let me move it there. 3.79, etc. So I'm just going to write you get about 3.79 cuts. Okay, so in one roll, I'll get 3 of these, and then a little bit left over. Okay. What else do I need to know? Well, I need to know how many of these I need going in this direction. So each of these, they tell me, is 0.53, and I want to know how many of those fit in here. So I'm going to say 9.54 divided by 0.53. 9.54 divided by 0.53 tells me there's 18. Okay, that's good. So we have 18 of these strips. So in other words, this is how many strips I can get in one roll, and I want to find out how many fit in there. So we can say 18 split into 3.79. Now, this is where you have to make a bit of a decision, because if you're papering a wall, you might decide that you can only use 3 strips and some of it's not kind of left over, or you could use all of it. I'm actually going to say we're going to use 3 strips. Let's just get. And the reason for that is if I stop my piece of paper there, you then have to continue, and I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, so we're going to see how many. So 18 divided by 3, put that into a calculator, comes out to 6. So I think I need at least 6 rolls. Okay, might be that you can get away with less if you put it and you're very careful. I'm going to say here, oh, notice that 6 rolls, but here I have a price. Why? Because each roll costs £13.85, and I need 6 of them. So £13.85 85 times 6 tells me that it comes to 83 pounds and 10 pence. 83. So it's going to come out to 83 pounds and 10 pence. 6 marks for that question. So there's quite a lot because there's a bit of ratio, there's a bit of scales, there's also understanding what wallpapers to do. So it's a little bit of a tricky question. Last one. So well done for getting this far. Let's have a look. He wants to he has some wires and he wants to hide it. He's got some plastic cover that he can do to hide the wires. And they tell us that these are the lengths of the wires lengths of trunking that he has. And he basically, oh no, that's what he measures, okay? And this is what he has. He has 15 feet of trunking. And the question is this enough to cover that? We have a problem. This is in feet, and this here is in meters and centimeters. So first of all, we're going to find out how much he needs. Then we're going to find out if he has enough. So if we think about that, 1.5 is the same as 1.5. Okay? So that's how many meters he has there. Okay? Here, 2.25 is the same as 2.25 meters. Okay? And this one's in centimeters. So what we're going to have to do is we're probably going to either keep it all in centimeters or meters. Now, this is your personal choice, how you want to do it, because the question is it enough? So there's several ways of doing that. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to find out how much centimeters are in total here. So I'm going to have to change this one to centimeters by multiplying by 100. And again, I'm going to change that one to centimeters by multiplying by 100. So that will give me 150 centimeters here. This one will give me 225 centimeters there. And we also had a 90 centimeters here. And so in total, if you add those together, we have 150 plus 225 plus 90. So in total, we have 465 centimeters that we need. And so now we want to find out if this is enough to cover that. So I'm going to start off, and the reason I'm going to leave that one there and I'm going to change this one is if I look over here, it's quite easy to change feet to inches and then inches to centimeters, and then we can compare. So if I start off with 15 feet, okay, 1 foot is that. So if I have 15 feet, I have 15 lots of it. So we have 15 times 12, 180. Sorry for the reflection. There we are, 180. So that's 180 inches. And every inch is 2.5 centimeters. So we have 180 inches times 2.5. So we have 180 times 2.5. Trying to get it a bit more visible. There you are. 180 times 2.5 is 450. 450 centimeters. Okay, and this is what he has. Okay, because this is what he has there. We changed it to centimeters. So here's what he has. And the question is it enough? So this is what he has. That is what he needs. And so clearly he does not have enough. And so the answer is no. He needs, and if I look at that, another 15 centimeters. Okay, so that is the answer for that one. Now there's other ways of doing it, but the answer is no. So whichever way you did it, you should come out with the answer no. So well done for getting this far. That's the end of that. Bye-bye for now.